Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how I make cake pops. And there are so many ways to do this. I feel like the way that I do it is a very easy way and I don't have to use any molds or anything special to do them. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. I was doing an order for St. Patrick's Day for my mom, and I was doing an order for a party for a friend of mine. So I got kind of a 2-for-1. So I thought I would show you guys. I hope you enjoy. Super simple and still very effective. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. So to start, you are going to take the cake that you made, and you guys can do whatever recipe you guys like. You can do store-bought. It really doesn't matter, but you're going to bake up some cakes, however many you need. I will say one pan that's like 8x11 got me 34 cake pops, but of course that'll be give or take depending on size. And then you're going to transfer that, break it up into a bowl. I know it feels wrong. It's like I made a good cake and now I'm just destroying it, but that's what we do. So you're going to put that into a bowl. From that, I'm just going to take a fork, use whatever you want, and actually your hands work really well too, and just crumble this up. We don't want any huge chunks of cake, so just kind of take your time, break it all up into crumbs. Once you have your crumbs, at least mostly, you're going to take some frosting. And again, use your own that you make or use store-bought. It doesn't matter. And I should mention, I'm using a dark chocolate or a chocolate fudge cake and a dark fudge frosting as well. So these will be chocolatey. And you're going to do a good scoop into your bowl. I would say probably, like a cup would get you a whole cake pan. Not quite the whole frosting tub, but almost. And we're just going to try to incorporate that with our fork again and try to make kind of, it almost clumps your cake back together into little ball-sized pieces. And that's when you'll know that you have enough and it's kind of all combined. It's almost like doing a meatloaf, but with cake. From that point, I like to take like a little ice cream scooper. This is a smaller one, and get myself a good size, normal size cake pop that you normally would get. And that helps me by using that is keeping them all pretty even in size. But I mean, if you don't have that kind of scooper or whatever, you can totally use just 2 spoons and make your balls and put them together. And it really is simple. And you'll kind of know too, if they kind of stick together the way that it should, then you know you have enough frosting. And if they're kind of crumbling still on you, add some more frosting and try again. You'll kind of just get a feel for it. And just start making little cake balls. And I'm putting them over, you can't see it, I apologize, but I'm putting them over on a piece of parchment paper on a baking sheet, because I'm going to also put these into the fridge to chill once I have all the balls made. So after I had them all done, I let them chill in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes, just so that they, you know, kind of all set up again, because I kind of made them a little warm by just using my hands even. I'm going to melt just a little bit of chocolate in that little glass container you saw, just a little bit. Just melt it in the microwave. Take your cake pop sticks and put a little bit on the ends and stick them in the center. And what this is going to do, I think this is actually really an important step, is you're going to do that so that they adhere to the stick as well as possible. I think if you were to just put a stick in it and dunk the whole thing, which we are going to go back and do, they're going to fall off. And sometimes they even still can, even with doing this method, but this is a little bit more foolproof. So that's what I'm going to do. And then from this step, I'm going to put them back into the fridge again for about 15 minutes, just to let that really set. This chocolate does set pretty quick. So It's really not that long of a process. It's just kind of steps that you need to take, I think, to make this work the best that it can. I'm not even worrying about dyeing this chocolate yet a color because it's still going to be very covered when we go in and do the whole thing. So this is, again, just to make sure that they stay on the stick as best as possible. So once they have chilled and we're ready to actually dunk them in their final coat, we're going to use our chocolate chips, the white chips, and we're going to put also some Crisco in it. I also talked about doing this step on my previous dipped treats video, which I will link below because this method now at this point is very, very similar. And I think this is vital. And I've learned through trial and error that you have to add this, guys, because the chocolate can go from being melted perfectly to being completely unusable and dried out in the matter of like 5 seconds. And this helps so much. And it also makes the chocolate appear more glossy and smooth. So I think it's just do it. Do it, do it, do it. And so I just melt the chocolate in the microwave in like 20-second intervals until we get to the melted consistency we want. It usually takes a couple minutes with a bigger batch, but just do it and keep stirring in between those 20 seconds. I also just showed that for food coloring, what you want to use, yeah, I didn't get the seal off all the way. Anyway, but you also really want to make sure that when you are using coloring for chocolate, you want to use the food coloring that is meant for candy, not icing. I've mentioned this before in that previous video too, that it will work if you use an icing one, but it makes it very grainy looking, whereas this is going to make it a very smooth color. Now for this first batch, I am actually going for like a mint green color. So I just used, literally you saw, a drop of this stuff. It's very potent. And that worked for me. I think I added just a tiny bit more, but I got that mint green. And if I ended up putting too much, then you can always add more white chips and kind of, work with it until you get the color you want. But start with very little, guys, because that stuff is so potent. So from here on, I'm going to kind of set up my assembly line. I'm going to take one of my chilled cake pops and dunk it. And one dunk is what you need to do. Don't leave it in there for too long. It weights it down, and the chocolate is a little warm, and that's also going to want to melt the chocolate that we used originally to adhere it. So do it quick. Very quick. And then I'm just kind of putting it over a plate to let it drip if there's any excess, and putting on my sprinkles or whatever kind of items you want to put on there. You need to do it quick because if you think you're going to go back in later once you got them all dipped, it's not going to happen. This chocolate dries fast, which is great, but you got to kind of work quickly with this. Kind of set up your assembly line and be ready to go. And then I'm going to use this piece of styrofoam to stick them in to dry fully. This really does not take too long, but I feel like this method just works the best. And I'm going to show you another way I actually dry them as well, but for this batch, we're going to do it like this. So for the next batch of chocolate, I'm actually going to be doing a very light gray. By the way, my husband's helping me, so I don't have man hands every other frame, but yeah. So what I did is I used the candy food coloring again, but I used black, and we used literally like dip it in a toothpick and then dip that in a chocolate because we did not want it to be black. We wanted it to be a very light gray, and that totally worked for us, but you got to be a little careful too because black naturally wants to turn to, with white, purple. So again, very little will do gray for you. Don't overdo this one. And so we're going to mix that up and do the same method again, and I'm going to top it with some gray sprinkles as well. And guys, this is what I mean when the cake pop can actually fall off the stick. It happens, and it happens just like that. But I thought I'd leave it in there to show you it can happen, and it kind of is one of those not really salvageable, move on. Make enough to have a few extras for some mess ups. It happens. So for the next color, I'm going to actually be doing like a peachy coral color. And I'm actually using these pre-made candy melts that are orange, and I'm going to mix them with some white so that it doesn't come out too orange and it kind of gives me that pale peach color. And that worked for me. So I just used a handful of the orange candy melts and a handful of the white chips. So then once I was done with those colors, I went back to my green ones, and this is how you can also go and make them dry, is do them flat, upright versus in the styrofoam. And it doesn't really matter however you want to do it, and they will come right off the papers too. So it's not, and you can leave the papers on for decor, but I actually kind of preferred it this way, and I'm putting them in their little plastic, and good to go. Put a little bow on it, and you are done. Guys, thank you so much for watching as always. I really hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Mwah!